It did not take long for the bullpen to emerge as a significant concern with this Phillies team, but one key offseason addition in Jordan Romano may have figured some things out. This has some massive implications for this Philadelphia Phillies team, and I'm here to break down what exactly Jordan Romano did change and the implications that it will have. Obviously, this is a guy who came to the Phillies in the offseason with some expectations that Jeff Hoffman out the door, Carlos Estevez out the door, and on top of that, the bullpen already proving not to be good enough next year, and Jordan Romano was looked at as a solution to this. Through the beginning part of the season, he's been the exact opposite, proving not capable of taking high leverage innings or even the lower leverage innings, with him just being hit around completely. To lay out his stats on the season thus far, that he has pitched in 12 games, 10.1 innings pitched, allowed 15 hits and struck out 10. That comes out to 13.1 hits per 9 inning, a disastrous 12.19 ERA, and a 2.032 whip. Pretty bad stuff for a 32-year-old who also was showing signs of lost velocity there. We did see a little bit of improvement on that from the early parts of the season. His fastball kicking up a couple notches, but it does feel like the Phillies figured out a problem. We're coming off these best performance in a Phillies uniform, him closing down the deal, securing his first save of the season, and the Phillies revealing why they think things could change around. So to dive into exactly why that is the case, we do have an article here from Brad Wakai saying Philadelphia Phillies believe struggling closer was tipping his pitches. The struggles of the Philadelphia Phillies closer could have been due to tipping pitches, the subtitle writes. Now, if you do not know what tipping pitches means, a pretty simple concept here, that he's revealing what pitch he's going to throw accidentally before he throws this. This can be done in a variety of ways. There's obviously the sign stealing tactic in which people are looking at what is being called here. That is pretty much extinct in the game. Shout out to the Houston Astros there, and obviously the technology that is advanced. But the traditional kind of tipping pitches method, it's whether it's how the pitcher holds their glove, that maybe when they're throwing a changeup, that they twist their glove a little bit. It could be something in the windup that they come up with a little different motion that teams are able to pick up, maybe how high you lift your leg, that you're able to correlate that how their delivery looks for what pitch is coming in, and it does seem that the Phillies believe, at least, that is something that was going wrong with Jordan Romano. Now, to dive into the specifics of it, I do want to dive into this article here, which writes, not only were they able to find their offense on Saturday with an explosion of runs that didn't come from the long ball, but they also grind out an extra innings win in the finale that proved they have the capability of coming out on top in a close contest. Perhaps the main story that will come from Sunday's win is what Jordan Romano did. Based on how he'd performed to date, a 13.50 ERA in 10 outings, it's safe to say that not many fans were thrilled to see the right-hander come out of the bullpen in a 3-1 game to close things out in the bottom of the 10th inning. But considering the circumstances, Romano might have had his best out of the season thus far. With the inherited runner standing on second base because of the extra innings rule, he didn't allow a run to score, striking out the first batter he faced before inducing a flyout to left field and then making a spectacular play on a ground ball comebacker to secure the win. Romano looked like a completely different pitcher, throwing 10 of his 13 pitches for strikes and not issuing a single walk while showcasing high velocity on his fastball with some nasty break on his slider. What might have changed? Quote, we talked to Rob Thomson, the manager of the Phillies, before the game, who seemed to think that Romano was tipping his pitches. They feel like they've corrected it, David Cohn said on the Sunday Night Baseball broadcast. Now, obviously, if that was a factor, if that's what was going down, it is a great news that the Phillies are on top of this. I will say, to put on my skeptical lenses a little bit here, I do find it hard to believe that teams have been able to pick up on it that quickly. I mean, we're talking about from day one of Jordan Romano being on the mound for this Phillies team, him not looking good enough and getting mashed around here. That it has not been good enough from start to finish. Now, I do hope that is the case, that he is settled in. I do kind of buy more into the theory of his velocity returning, that at the start of the season, it was pretty disastrous stuff with just not getting that top-end heat that he's throwing to opponents there. Now, if you talk to Luke Arcani, my co-host, of course, on the channel, he's in. He's ready to buy as much Jordan Romano stock as he can get. I will say, I'm not quite there yet. I'm still a little skeptical, need to see a little more, but I cannot deny what a great sign this is for this Phillies team. And to put a bow on that exact game here, the article continues to say, if that really is what's been going on, then the best version of Romano could be coming. The broadcast went on to discuss how tipping pitches would affect a pitcher like Romano, who relies heavily on his fastball and slider combination. Without the element of surprise on his slider, the most likely pitch that was being tipped, then batters could just sit back and wait for a fastball. Hopefully, that is the main issue that has been plaguing the former All-Star. Since his velocity has started to reach his previous top-end speed, that suggests he's physically recovered from his injury that caused him to be on the shelf for the majority of 2024. Now, obviously, when referring to his slider, that is his get-out pitch, his strikeout pitch, the one that you need to make hitters miss with. And obviously, the advantage of a slider is it's when done right, starts in the strike zone and dips right out of that bad boy. If a hitter does know that's coming, they're going to be able to simply take the pitch, let one fly by in the dirt, and wait for that fastball to come. And for a pitcher like Romano, that obviously will be very problematic in his approach to going out hitters now. So I am hopeful that this is the case, that I do hope that we are back on the right track, that Romano can be a key figure on this bullpen, but we got to see a little bit more of the sample size. Now, when reflecting on this bullpen as a whole, we have a lot more questions than answers at this point. To dive into exactly what that roster is looking like, we've seen a lot from these guys at this point in the year. Jose Alvarado, shout out to him, looks as dominant as ever. Really impressed with how he started the season. Romano, we just spoke plenty above. Matt Strahm, been a little bit rockier than I would like to see, but ultimately, we know who he is at the end of the day. He is going to be a high-level reliever for this team. Orion Kirkring seems to be getting back on track after a little bit of a concerning start to the year, I will say, and I was beginning to have my concerns raised, but it has been more of a unit thing than an Orion thing in particular there. Joe Ross, still not really sure the outlook for him. And beyond that, not sure what the role the Phillies really picture him for. They've given him a couple chances at some high leverage opportunities. Ultimately, has not looked particularly great in those. I also was under the impression when they first signed him that he could be a little bit of this swing skill reliever, that he could pitch multiple innings. They haven't stretched him out really under any example yet. I believe he's gone 2 innings in 1 or 2 performances, but nothing beyond that. He certainly is not this Spencer Turnbull-like pitcher that can go 3-4 innings or, be the reliever that picks up when your starter is chased from the game early. We at least have not seen that yet. Jose Ruiz, I like, but I don't think is a guy that can take that next step into a high leverage guy. The Phillies have given him a couple of chances, and it has not quite worked out well. Tanner Banks, another guy who I think kind of is who he is. And Carlos Hernandez is a guy who I just kind of don't think is good enough. The stuff hasn't been awful. He is a big body. He does throw hard, and he's a guy that the Phillies seem to like, but we will ultimately see. But this all circles back to this is all designed, this bullpen, for Jordan Romano to be the closer. And I know that the Phillies don't use that label, that they do like to play the matchups. They'll do the left-hander versus right-hander and do all the scouting reports of this pitcher has pitched well. Matt Strahm has gotten Shohei Ohtani out this amount of times, that Orion Kirkring has had success against these hitters. I understand they do that. But at the end of the day, you play 9 innings every single game. And the Phillies, well, I guess there's extras if you want to really get critical here. And the Phillies do not kind of accept that. I would love to have a guy that grabs the closer role by the reins. We sort of saw Jeff Hoffman do it last year. Now, granted, in everyone's defense here, Hoffman, when push came to shove, was not good enough from a postseason setting. He's pitching phenomenal for the Blue Jays so far this year, by the way. And the gamble in that conversation is really whether or not that is to last. The fact that there's 2 other teams, the Orioles and I believe the Braves, that sniffed out Hoffman's medicals, do have me at least willing to see this out here. I'm obviously not rooting on the guy's downfall. Frankly, I like Jeff Hoffman and root for him when I do see him on the mound here. But I think that this is a story that will be discovered a couple more months, possibly years down the line, for whether or not this was the right call. But the Phillies do have to worry about the present. And if they had invested that much in the present to Jeff Hoffman and it backfired, they're in a tough spot. Jordan Romano is not quite the same outlook with that, but it was a buy low, bounce back opportunity. He still has to fully find this. What I will give props for Romano is there was a real chance where this went completely south already. The Boo Birds were already coming out in Philadelphia. His stuff was not looking good enough. He'd taken it on the chin from the media perspective several times, standing up there saying, I don't know what happened. I thought I got it. I thought I threw my best stuff, and I got hammered out there today. I respect the honesty, but it does not make up for the results here. So hopefully this is finally the signs of Jordan Romano getting back on track. The Phillies need this guy to be a high leverage arm, a guy that can be a power pitcher, a big-time moments guy in this bullpen. Hopefully that this is him officially getting back on the right track. Whatever that tipped pitch situation was is completely fixed and will not return, and he can continue on the pathway to being a key contributor on this team. Ultimately, we're going to be breaking things down from every angle regardless here on Phillies Digest. So do want as many of you as possible along for the ride. If you have not already, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video here. Just 31.7% of you guys watching these videos have subscribed just yet, so let's get those numbers growing and talk to you throughout the rest of this Phillies season. Peace.